Is this the end? I don't know. Let's find it out. Yes. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right. What's up, everybody? So, if you're watching the replay, you probably saw that I had a pair of these. Ooh, Eclipse glasses. They are dark. Look, you can't see nothing. You can't see nothing. I do have a welding helmet, but my oldest daughter, she gave me a bunch of these for the family, so we're going to check that out. Do not drive with your Eclipse glasses. I don't know why we live in a world that, where they have to put that warning out there, but and then also they said that you have to make sure that these have the ISO rating. ISO 12312-2. So, anyways, it's going to be an interesting day today. So that's what the title is. By the way, that's the clickbait. The title is "This the End?" Because it's interesting what social media does to a scenario, right? It gets. The internet wants to get everybody all riled up. The internet wants to get everybody to be like, hey, this is going to be some major event. Well, it is a major event, but not in the way that you think, right? So, you got people driving. The interstates are going to be full today, if they weren't full yesterday, of people going to where the direct path is, of where there's totality, 100% totality and all that. I think we're going to be at 97% today. So, but anyways, that's what's going on. So that's the news of the day. Everybody wants to, say this is the end. This is the end. This is some cataclysmic event and all that stuff. And it'll be interesting to see what those channels say tomorrow. But they do get the clicks, they do get the views, and that's what they're doing there for. So, I do have a members only video. I tried going live, members only live stream Friday. It did not go out very well. So I did a recorded video, so that should be. I got to watch it, which I hate doing. I don't know how you guys watch me because I can't stand it. But anyways, once I proof that, then that'll be uploaded to the members only page. It's basically showing how I used to organize my loads on paper to make it easier to put in my trucking office at the time. So, what else? What else is going on? Freight is very slow. My emails have transitioned. The email, like I don't get a whole lot of emails on my main account that I've been using for 7 years. But they've all switched to a different one, probably because of all the fraud. They want a liketrucking.com address, so there's that. Let's see, weather-wise, I don't know if there's a whole lot going on. Yeah, it looks pretty quiet. So we can kind of show that a little bit. And then we'll go over some loads. We'll see what the load boards are doing this week. It'll be interesting to see what freight's doing today with the Eclipse, whether that's going to matter or not. If you're trying to get loaded about 12 or 1, depending on where you're at in the country, that might be slow because everybody's going to be outside with, really cheap things and outside looking at it. But so looks like Wyoming, Montana area looks like it's got a little bit of winter weather going on. I guess Colorado and Kansas were pretty brutal the last couple of days with the wind. A lot of turnover trucks there on 70. Pigtail sent me a report on Facebook from a Kansas outlet. And then, of course, I was looking at Google Maps yesterday, and I-70 in Colorado west of Denver was all jacked up as well. So if you're driving through that area, make sure you're careful and watch out for that wind. It will turn your truck over in a second if it can. Looks like got a little bit of flooding going on in Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, and then let's see what this gray stuff is. Dense fog. So you got some fog going on in the Midwest. And let's see what we got here. Flood watches. Yeah, flood advisories going on in, looks like the northern tip of Mississippi, Georgia, southern tip of little bit in the Boot Hill, Missouri, and then Tennessee and Kentucky. So, all right. Let's go over some comments. I had an interesting comment on one of my shorts. See if I can find that. I wanted to kind of go over it. Let's see. Says that I'm live. All right. Don't want that up. Oh. All right. So I did this really quick video about what is your purpose, right? And Shannon Thomas, she commented, she's always a supporter, always has been a supporter. She goes, "My purpose is being in the harvest." But then blessed and free, he put, you mean not being able to be an owner op, so finding a purpose in dispatching. And I thought that was pretty funny. And I feel pretty special about that, because out of 7 billion people, that one comment to me, that means that someone's paying attention to me. I like that. It's not being able to be an owner op. And what I'm finding is that I chose to get off the road. I chose to not be an owner op anymore because my calling is being here at home for my family. And if that's something to make fun of me for, then then that's fine. I'll be made fun of for that. I'm okay with that. I had a plan, 5 years, get out of the truck. and I accomplished that plan. Now, has it been a struggle to figure out what this looks like? Yeah, working from home is a bit of a challenge. You can ask my wife. She went through this transition like 20 years ago or 15 years ago when she started work from home. Things become different. You're not commuting to work. You're not in a social, like there were times when she had no social interaction with adults when I was on the road. She was only hanging out with the kids, and that was it. And so I've had to be disciplined on making sure that I still keep a schedule, that I still try to get work done. The safety is a feast and famine. Safety, I check the log books. I check, make sure everything's on the up and up. And usually it's fairly quiet because we got a great group of contractors. And, excuse me. Hold on a second. And so, but then there's the emergency that happens that, requires all my attention, and then, dispatching comes in waves, I'll go from 1 week of no dispatch to now I've got 6 trucks. So, so that does mess with me mentally. There's a few things I need to be doing here at home that I have not been motivated to do, and I think that's a form of anxiety, is a form of depression, is you procrastinate, you don't get things done, and so sometimes I need a good swift kick in the butt. So the person making that comment, thank you for the swift kick in the butt. It's all right, man. It's all right. I'll figure it out. So, because one of the things that I had to do when I wanted to sell my truck is I had to want to sell the truck. And there was no purpose in owning the truck because it wasn't what was making me money anymore. And I've explained this, I've done my time, and I'm watching so many people, so many drivers ruin their lives because they feel that they have to own the truck for some kind of status symbol or some kind of, like, I don't know, I don't get it. And while I had to drop a little bit of pride to get rid of the truck, because now I can't no longer say, well, I'm an owner-operator, I own my truck. Well, when was the last time you drove it? A year ago. It's just it was getting stupid, right? Truck was rotting. The def was getting bad. It was time to go, right? Now, if I wanted to become owner-operator tomorrow, I could. I've got the funds. I've got the knowledge, obviously. And I could be in a truck, and I'm still set up as a contractor here at Like Trucking. Not a big deal. But I choose to be at home. My purpose is to help as many people as I can with the abilities that I have, although it's not much, to help people navigate through this constantly changing trucking market. Notice I didn't just say spot market, trucking market. Because with all the technology that's coming in, and all these companies, both trucking on the trucking side and the broker side, struggling, this landscape is changing. And I kind of want to go back to a point in 2022, or is it 21? Do you remember when it was obvious that there was going to be supply chain issues, and containers went from $2,000 or $4,000 a piece to like $18,000 to $20,000 a piece, something like that. Sage was talking about it. Did you guys see what Costco and Walmart did? Do you remember that? Remember what they did? They said, you know what? We're not having this problem. We're going to lease our own ships. And the reason why I bring this up is because these big corporations like Walmart and Costco, and on the brokerage side you have C.H. Robinson and maybe whatever other big brokerages there are. TQL, I guess, would be a good one. They are putting themselves in a position that insulates them from market conditions as much as possible. And so what happens is they become stronger, and the small single truck or 10, 20 truck fleets get weaker. Now you could sit there and say, well, large percentage of, freight is moved by independent contractors. That's true, but they want to change that. And what I'm seeing from this side that I wouldn't have probably seen if I was still behind the steering wheel is that when you email brokers, they're short, they're not very communicative. You might even be negotiating with a computer. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to deal with you. They want you to go on there, and I've seen the quotes. I've seen the emails. I've gotten the emails. Hey, we have this lane of 100 loads a month. Give us a quote. Because they don't want to post it. They don't want to talk to you. They want you to show up with your big fleet and say, hey, yeah, we can cover 50 of these a month. That's what they want. And seeing the transformation, the transition to that has been very interesting. It's and so I'm busy. I'm trying to look for opportunity in that. And so I'm not just some guy checking the dat board for the contractors that want to use me. I'm looking at all these different resources. I'm going through all my contacts. And as we sit there, us YouTube gurus, we sit there and spout, well, you need relationships with brokers, you need relationships with shippers. You know what? At the end of the day, it's about the bottom dollar. And it's hard to create relationships with brokers if the agents are constantly being laid off or changed. Like Coyote, if you're listening, I can't even log into your app now. And your agent, that's our rep, can't even give me a password reset. Because we're relying too much on technology. There's one brokerage that still sends rate cons if we book it online to one of our contractors that hasn't even been here for 5 years. And so navigating through this technological landscape that's quickly taken over trucking is it's mind-boggling, really. To me, I could be wrong, but to me, gone are the days where you can go out and buy a $30,000 beater truck and make more money than a company driver. I think that's they're trying to do away with that. So, excuse me, I didn't use the mute mic on that. But so I'm sitting here kind of like watching all this in real time, and it's been kind of, we're definitely in interesting times. I'm not going to say heading for interesting times. We're in them. And so the whole internet, it likes to like take a small thing and turn it into something that it's not. Meanwhile, you're not seeing what's really going on. While everybody's arguing about broker transparency or small little things that FMCSA obviously doesn't care about, and they're not going to change their minds. There's this whole transition with all the information from the ELDs, from your tracking apps, from even your internet history. how and when and why and AI, how we're going to move freight across this country, because he who controls the freight controls the country. We've often said as truck drivers, hey, we could shut this country down. Rah. You don't think the government knows that? You don't think that the higher-ups know that? So they're doing everything they can to make sure that can't happen, because they've seen it happen in other countries where truck drivers shut down the whole thing to get what they want. And everybody always says, well, we can't get truck drivers to agree on anything. We can't seem to be on the same page with anything. Well, here's the thing. How many of you truck drivers are nasty other people on the internet? We're too busy tearing each other apart, and you're never unified. Why is that? Where does that come from? Maybe because your life sucks. Maybe because that you feed into all the things that make us divided. There was a car hauler that used to have a YouTube channel, and he used to make fun of freight haulers. Anybody who didn't haul cars was a freight hauler. He didn't care if it was flatbed, reefer, van, but he'd make fun of them. And there's this whole culture with the car haulers that do that. It's like, no, we all drive big trucks going down the road. Why does that have to be divided? Why is there got to be tribalism in trucking? Well, because people are stirring the pot. People want to, it's a distraction from what's really going on. The regulations, the amount of information that's used against you, and they'll tell you to your face, oh man, this is for you. It's for your own benefit. I mean, those of you running the spot market, what do? You look at your rate con. It says $100 for on-time delivery, $100 for tracking, $250 if you're late, $50 an hour for a max of 6 hours. You got all these stipulations, and someone made the comment that I've never seen somebody, overcomplicate such a simple process of supply and demand, which is true. It's simple, but yet there's so many complexities that people are making money off of those complexities. So which side are you on? You got to figure it out. So instead of tearing each other up on the internet, instead of, picking fights and shooting at people on the fuel islands, how about you just figure it out and find the people that are successful and become unified that way? So, anyways. Sorry. I don't know where that came from, really. I was sitting there this morning thinking, man, I don't know what I'm going to talk about this morning because, low boards, blah, whatever. Desert Pam, good morning. Randy, good morning from Salt Lake City, Utah. Jose, good morning. CDN, good morning, Steve. Thanks for allowing me on your show last Friday. Yes, if you guys didn't see it, go watch the replay. CDN Freight Broker was on my show Friday. I could probably cut it up into 20 videos. Maybe I'll actually do that this week. But it was some really good insight, so I appreciate you, CDM Freight Broker. You always make my job easier when you're on the channel. George McElroy, I bet you cannot outsnore me. Well, if there's a contest, yeah, I may not. I use the CPAP now, so it's at 13. I think some people are higher than that. So if you know, you know, right? Pop Tart, good morning. Hi, y'all. I'm getting ready to leave out for the dentist, but I take a second to say hello. So thank you for taking a second out of your, how many seconds a day do we get today? Thank you for taking one for us. Jack Knife, the one day I forget my sunglasses, LOL. Yeah, well, don't be staring at the sun with your sunglasses, dude. Alfalfa, howdy from Port St. Lucie, Florida. My aunt and uncle used to live down there. Alfalfa. I will always have a grudge against Publix because my aunt and uncle went into their store and pleaded with the manager to let me park there for at least a couple hours so I could visit them. Now, this is before the Ubers were around, and they wouldn't. And that would have been the last time I could have seen them before they passed away. So Publix can suck it. Gen Z Trucking morning, getting loaded this morning, going to Alabama. A non-load board broker texted me. I have about 5 brokers that work out of my hometown, so if I need to move, it's not an issue finding freight. There you go, Gen Z. That's how it's done. Okay, everyone is here, coming inside my gates. I'm leaving for my dentist. Bye. I love the coffee thing you did. It was different. Okay, bye. Like my ass off Snorelord, you hit the lottery. I hit the lottery. That guy's just jealous. Look, you know what? I don't sit there and justify other people's actions by sitting there, oh, they're just jealous. People will say, well, every time like someone has insulted me and a friend of mine goes, dude, they're just jealous. No, I don't subscribe to that because maybe they're not. Maybe they just want to ruffle feathers. Maybe they just I go through life with no jealousy. I really do. I see somebody with a better car or better pickup than me or a better house than me. I don't get envious or jealous because it's a toxic thing to have in your life. Now, there was a time where I did. You know, and it keeps you in a certain spot, right? It keeps you in a certain spot where, like, man, that guy has a nicer car than me. He could probably afford to give me money. And then you never figure out how to get yourself out of poverty with that kind of mindset. And so I don't subscribe to that mindset at all on either side. Now, because I don't know, that's just how my brain works now. You know, when you know, I've gone around the sun about 52 times and it's something that I figured out that brings peace to me. You know, I'm not jealous of anybody. You know, if I go in like if I go to someone's house, it's obviously a lot nicer, a lot bigger or whatever. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is pretty nice. And automatically my brain's going, man, I wonder what the utility bill's like. Wonder how much they have to do this or do that, or wonder how much happiness this takes. And, you know, that's immediately how my brain goes. You know, would it be nice to have a nice Peterbilt 389 with all the custom stuff? I would love that. I would love to have that as a yard ornament in my front yard. And there's still that possibility that, you know, if I wanted to get a truck to take the truck shows, that would be cool, but don't have the time. Really don't have the passion, but would it be nice to have? Yeah, that'd be cool, but man, it'd be a lot of work. And, you know, you got to choose your hard, right? You got to choose your hard. You know, there's a really great meme that I downloaded. Maybe I'll share it on the community page. But good morning, Romeland. TJ with the horns. TJ texted me Friday and was the second person to order my coffee. So the coffee's in the description of the video, the link to it. And then Shannon, bless her heart, man. She was live yesterday morning, and she was wearing my shirt, had my coffee mug. She was like, I like Snorelord coffee, and she hasn't even tasted it yet, but she was promoting my coffee, so I appreciate that. She's a great person. You know, one of these days, if you guys ever can, sit down and have dinner with Shannon, and she'll tell you some stories that shows that she is a true survivor of hardships, and you could see where her faith comes from. So, you know, everybody, you know, check out her channel. And I'm not just saying that because she promotes me or whatever, but she is genuinely a good person that wants to help. Ask anybody that talks to her privately. So, Marty says 100 loads a month. Yeah, but it's raining all 100 days. Okay. That's what they make windshield wipers for. Steve, you're providing a great explanation of supply chain. My advice to owner ops, number one, change your mentality from me and my truck. Each broker you deal with is that low part of a larger PO number. I agree with that. G-Star, haven't seen you in a while. Good morning, Mr. Snorelord, everyone. Greetings from Columbus. You know, they just had they just did some studies that ever since Ohio went constitutional carry, that crime's actually gone down. What if there's some truth to that? If so, there you go. G-Star, glad to see you. CDN says, if yes, then you have minimal negotiation power. I agree with that. There are some loads that you call on that you just know. The broker's like, yeah, it's 42,000 pounds. It's juice. Delivers tomorrow at 11 a.m. We've got 800 on it. And that's it. And you're like, well, can you go up to 9? No, best I could do is 815. You know, it's like, and you know, sometimes you hold the line. And you're like, okay, well, thanks for your time. Yep, click. Don't email you back. Don't call you. You know, this whole, you got to get your ego out of your head to sit there and think that the broker's going to call you. Oh, please, Mr. Driver, will you take this for 900 now? I know I rejected 900 earlier, but man, can you please? Nope. Since you called me, I'm at 1,000 now. No, you know what, guys? That's not how you negotiate. That's stupid, right? No one's going to come Here's the thing. There's more trucks than loads. Okay? No one's going to come crawling to you. No one's going to be begging you. No one, you know, and you know what? There's another carrier or another dispatch service that will take that load for 75 cents a mile. So ain't no brokers calling you groveling because you rejected them earlier. Now, if that happens, great. Good on you. But how often does that happen? Maybe 1-2 times a month that you might be in that position. Why? The only reason why that would happen is you have leverage. You ain't going to have leverage on, you know, some broker trying to move 100 Niagara water loads out of Kansas City. Now, a specialized item with 5 stops, yeah, you have a little bit more leverage because not everybody's going to take that. And the brokers that are groveling, it's because they're horrible at their job. They're horrible at negotiation, and they don't have relationships with carriers. Why? Because they're doing freight that requires just one-and-done carriers they don't care about. That's the reality of that. It's all about leverage. If you're the only truck within 100 miles that can pull that load, you have a lot of leverage. But look at the truck stops. They're full, right? They're full of people sitting on their laptops looking for loads. You have no leverage unless you do something extraordinary. Then you get the new breed of drivers that are basically Uber gig drivers, or they at least purchase a truck and now they think that they're CEOs, which totally undermines the industry. I would like you to explain how that happens. I think you need more details in that, Jackknife. Because lease purchases have been around for a long time. My dad was a lease purchase driver back in the 80s. And these companies want you to think that you're the CEO. You own a business, right? You're a business owner. Yeah, you may not own the truck, but you're a business owner, which is fine. You're an owner-operator. However, are you in control of your business? That's the thing. If you have a $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month truck note, you are in control of nothing. You have no leverage. If you're out there driving a $250,000, $300,000 truck, you have zero leverage unless you're doing something extraordinary. Hauling fuel, hauling heavy haul, hauling equipment, doing show freight. that pays really well, but you got to stay out 10 months of the year. Are you in control? Most people aren't. That's the thing. It's like, well, I'm a single owner operator and I own my own truck and I choose where I go and how I want. I dispatch myself. But I had to run 160,000 miles last year because of my truck payment. And my wife's getting ready to leave me. Are you in control? No. You're an owner-operator. You're a business owner. You're choosing what you want to do, but you're losing your ass because your expenses are too high. CDM Freight Broker, I guess I guess I'm just in a mood today. So I apologize. If you as an owner-operator or one MC carrier just want to focus on maximum profit per load, remove all large brokerages from your contact list. Block them on your load board. I'm sure there's more to that. Focus on finding small brokerages who have small shippers that ship one load a month. These situations provide most opportunities to negotiate a higher rate. I agree with that. Shannon, good morning. I was bragging on you yesterday. Thank you. 810 Batman, good morning. Fate Trucking. Entitlement has become the biggest destroyer of the trucking industry. None of us are owed anything. Entitlement has been the biggest destroyer of our country, Fate. It's not just trucking. It is a symptom of a bigger problem. So, David Riverman, good morning. No, that stuff needs to be said, Snorelord. The problem is you're going to have pushback saying you're not a part of the brotherhood. You should stick up for truck drivers, not call them out. I stick up for truck drivers every single day. When I'm talking to a broker and they ask me about my pricing, I tell them, look, it's a real struggle right now for owner operators with these rates because of these costs. And you guys got to realize there's another reason why I sold my truck. Because I saw it as, and granted, fuel was still fairly high, but when fuel jumped, I made more money dispatching than I did in the truck because of fuel. And so I didn't see it as, and I saw things coming down the line with the truck, and I didn't want to commit to a new truck. Because there was a point where that truck cost me $25,000 in 1 year, and I didn't even run the full time for that year. So these are the things that everybody seems to forget. It's like, okay, I've got my truck payment, I've got my maintenance. Do you have money for tow? Do you have money for a hotel? Can you afford to be down for 2 weeks while there's a plethora of trucks that are under warranty work? That's and plus there were things going on at home that I wanted to be home for. I had lost enough time with my kids owning a truck, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I could have made it work, but I knew that I was going to need a new truck, and I didn't want to get into another 5-6 year slave note to be in a truck. So, because I don't want to be in a truck till I'm 60, guys. I'm 52 years old. I love trucking. I am a second generation born truck driver. However, being in a truck at 60 years old, just finishing the truck payments on something that's going to fall apart anyways, didn't seem appealing to me. So I could serve better by helping people navigate through their battles, through their struggles. And that's where my purpose is. If a trucker hates trucking, effing quit. Those of us who love it have grown tired of the bitching. There you go. But see, that's the thing. That was one of the things that made me, we always say, talk to the veteran truck drivers, right? Talk to the veteran truck drivers. You know what? A lot of those guys are so jaded that they won't even talk to the new guys. They've automatically like put in their head that all new drivers are crap. And there are good new drivers. It's all about mindset. You know, when I was training, I could tell right off the bat whether someone was going to make it or not. But then there was a couple that actually surprised me. And you know, and what I have found is that here's the deal with trucking, okay? This is it. This is the final word. The more successful you are in trucking, the happier you will be with trucking. That could be done as a company driver or as an owner op or even a lease op. And here's what I mean by that. If you're a company driver and you're very well, you do your job very well, and you're happy doing what you're doing, like you don't mind the dedicated route you're on, you don't mind dealing with the shippers and receivers that your company's got you going to all the time, and you get along with your dispatcher, the CEO of your company is not trying to drive it into the ground, that's success. And you're probably pretty happy about that. In those kind of scenarios, you can drive until you're 80 if you wanted to. If you got a good work-home life balance, you know, and that's the thing. The more success you have in trucking, the more freedom you have. So let's say you're the top company guy. Well, guess what? They're going to give you all the benefits. They're, you know, when it comes time to take time off, they're going to give it to you. You know, if you're at a company that doesn't bend over backwards because you're an extraordinary driver, then you need to be at a different company. And you know, hold on. And you could do this. I did that as a company driver. I was going through some hard times, and I told my dispatcher I need to be home every weekend. You know what? They obliged. Why? Because I did my job. I didn't cry about it, and I enjoyed it. It made it easy because I enjoyed it. One of my favorite runs was going out to Salt Lake City, Utah. And, you know, so as an owner-operator, if you're good at dispatching, if you're good at sales, if you're good at negotiating, and your costs are fairly low, guess what? You're probably driving around the country pretty happy. It's easier to love trucking when you're good at it. You know, yeah, there's the hardships of, you know, the fuel islands and the lack of courtesy and all that. That just goes with the territory. And I'm going to give you guys an insight here. That's always been there. That lack of courtesy has always been there. You know, the golden days of trucking, you know, a lot of the stories are true, but there were still bad actors in that field. You know, my dad hated going into New York City, which we went in there all the time. I rode with him up to Hunts Point a lot. And the drivers were just as rude, just as foreign speaking then as they are now. That's just the nature of the area, right? And yeah, you were dependent on people with CBs, you know, because you didn't have Qualcomms, you didn't have cell phones. So yeah, you had to help each other out a little bit. And it took a special breed of person to kind of really drive a truck in the old days. You know, when you had to really plan your fuel stops or you'd be out of fuel. And if you were stranded somewhere, you were stranded unless someone came along. I love that aspect of trucking. Still do. But there are a lot of people that are driving trucks out of necessity because it's the only job they can get. Or, you know, you know how many people I talk to that hate trucking, but they're good drivers? They're even good business owners, but they despise trucking. The second that they can get out, they will. But they never make that change, and all they do is gripe and bitch and, you know, and all that. But yeah, I've done a video about that, CB. If you don't like trucking, leave. So that's the exact phrase I used. CDN Freight Broker. Okay, I already read that. CB says CN could call. What are the top 5 underserved markets today? Don said he is risen. Easter was 8 days ago. They're done. It's always the end, but what are you going to do about it? Right, mechanic? It's always the end. Morning, not going to be here very long. Okay, old school. Thank you for coming in. Today, most people are shackled down in debt, stressed to have nice things or just to show off. Cough, cough. Me on some days, slave to the truck. As a kid, when my dad was behind on finances and he had to stay out a month at a time, that was hard on me. It's hard for kids to grow up without their dad. And so when I got into trucking, it wasn't an easy decision. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I was going to love doing it. But I also tried to minimize the amount of trouble that would cause at home. And in some ways I was successful, in some ways I failed. And there are years that I'm never going to get back. And I thank God that I had found a company that got me home every other weekend. And then when I bought a truck, I was never a slave to it. Was it a mistress at times? Yes. Did it? But it killed my health a little bit. I mean, I ballooned up to almost 400 pounds when I was at Landstar because I had this anxiety. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a horrible owner-operator when I was at Landstar. And I've done a video on that. It's one of my best viewed videos on this channel. But then I figured out, you know what? We got to start tracking our numbers. We got to get a handle on our costs. We're going to have to take a gratitude check. I changed my health, started losing all that weight, started eating right, started making better decisions, worked for a better company that was a better fit for me. I'm not going to say Schneider's better than Landstar, but it was a better fit. And then when I came to like trucking, when I entered the spot market, I saw an opportunity. I saw several opportunities. And I've literally accomplished each of those opportunities. Now, could that go away tomorrow? Absolutely. And you know what? I can go out and buy a truck tomorrow if I wanted to. If I choose to do that. I could be a company driver tomorrow if I wanted to. But I have a lot of people that rely on me. Jeff relies on me for things. Drivers rely on me to help them find good loads. And they're not just looking for one and done loads either. They're looking for dedicated routes. They're looking for, see if I could set them up with the relationships that I've created doing this for, hell, I've been at Like Trucking since 2018. So there you go. And I said I'm never going to be a slave to a truck. That's just me. Because I know so many people that have, you know, dude, Steve, you're not a truck driver. You didn't do that many miles a year. Yeah, that's by design. And that's how I wanted it. I was able to control that. Now, if I had to do it all over again, one of the things that I would do better is to make sure that I had money towards the next truck. Not just for maintenance and repair for that year, but setting that aside, setting some aside for the next truck. Because if the big carriers are trading their trucks in every 3 or 4 years, there's a reason, right? And so this emotional attachment to one vehicle, to me, it's that choose your hard, right? You can either trade the truck in every 3 or 4 years, or you get a brand new one and you pay it off, and after it's paid off, you continue the maintenance, you continue the repairs, you know, and if that doesn't surpass what a new truck payment would be, then you're good to go. But it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to be harder to find the parts. It's going to be harder to get into the shops. If you know how to do your own maintenance and repairs, then that's great. But as these trucks get newer and newer, the computers are not allowing you to do that. Or you got to have some elaborate laptop system to do that. Shannon says, "Aw, shucks. Thank you, brother." Wimpy says, "All electronic signs warning of delays. Fill your tank. Stay put. How exciting to be alive." Is that what they're saying on those highway electronic signs? Well, I have a half a tank of gas in my pickup. Maybe I should go fill up today. If a broker is firm on a rate, ask how many of these loads they have. Look at your numbers. If you took 4 loads at $800, what does that look like? If you can make it work, that builds relationships. Don, WCF Invader, is good about that. He and I have worked on things like that. And the thing is, there's so much of that kind of freight that they're driving the prices down as low as they could possibly go. I was seeing loads out of certain areas Friday for $1 a mile. $1.10, $1.20, and they were not budging. And it's not profitable to do those. Not for the long term. It may be a good short load to get you somewhere, but that's it. You can't make a career of it. Truck with T-Bone, good morning. Marty says you're in Eclipse mode. What is Eclipse mode? I got my glasses. I got my glasses there. I also got my welding helmet. That might be better. I don't know. Snorelord, I mean, these guys that go on a flash and bunch of bling talk about how they're CEO and they're doing at least purchase with Super Ego Logistics and go on and talk about it. Well, look, people take pride in what they're doing. If I'm spending $1,500 a week on a truck payment, I got to have something to be. They work on our emotions. Truck drivers, as truck drivers are emotional people. And dude, you could be a CEO of a company and not be in control. And that's what they want you to think. They were like, "Oh, you're the one making the decisions. Here's your choice of 5 loads." But you've got free satellite and shiny chrome on your truck that they've given you to make you feel good, right? And people are going to look, there's a whole market to get on YouTube and to promote. Like, you know how much the Snyder guys, how much like Jeffrey Like and Big Rig CO and Ike Stevens made as Snyder ICs just doing referral bonuses? You guys, I made decent money with referral bonuses. They made a lot of money doing that. So, I mean, look at Trucker's Coach. He was the recruiting king. He got people to sign up for all kinds of different companies. That's what YouTube is. It's a platform to advertise your stuff. I got coffee. I promote 123 Load Board. I promote Truckin' Pro. Because these are tools that I actually use. The coffee is a new thing, but as soon as it comes in, and I'll do a taste test. If it's good, cool, I'll keep it and I'll promote it. That's what the internet does. I researched one knife on the internet. Now I get all these ads from all these different knife companies. Blade City, Blade HQ, knives. I mean, all this. I look up a holster. I've got 30 holsters in my Facebook feed. And it's people going, check this out. Check this out. And I've done those videos. Does it get me attention? No, I'm not a big time YouTuber. I have failed horribly as a YouTuber. The other day, a friend of mine called me and goes, dude, have you heard about this program on YouTube? I'm like, yeah, sure, cool. It's like, okay, go to your settings, do this, this, and this. And I'm like, I don't have that. He goes, oh. And so I looked it up. I had to have 15,000 subscribers to be able to do what he was trying to tell me to do. And that's cool that I got like bigger YouTubers wanting to help me out. But at the end of the day, I'm a horrible YouTuber. I'm boring. I speak too much, probably truth. I don't get up all irate or whatever, and I get about maybe 50 to 60 people in my live feeds, which I'm content with. That's how my band was. We never made it big, but I love doing it. I love doing this YouTube. And so it's easy money for me. And trucking was easy money for me because I loved it. So I like searching for loads. A lot of people come into the spot market that don't like talking to brokers. I'm like, then what are you doing here? This is the game. This is what you do. I like the thrill of the hunt. There's a sense of accomplishment when I book a load, and it's, man, it's just, yeah. I enjoyed that, There's been a couple of times that if someone's stalking me and watching me at the truck stop, I was at the steering wheel going, yes, I did it. and because I enjoy the hunt. Right? Jose says CDN is 1,000% correct on that. Wimpy says everyone will be parked on the side of the road 2 to 3 p.m. Yeah, so let's get into that a little bit. Thank you, Wimpy. MoDOT actually put out a warning to not drive with these glasses on. It's a strange world we live in where we got to have that warning out there. And so, if I was driving, I would be at the truck stop doing a break. Depending on where we're at in the country. If you're in Montana, you're not worried about it. But just be careful. And you're going to have a lot of looky-loos. There's a time, like I was going through Texas one time, it was around the Dallas area. And some of you can put a name to this probably, but there's a time where all these wildflowers that Texas is growing along their highways starts budding. They start growing, right? And so they're in full bloom. And you have people parked on the sides in the interstate taking pictures with these flowers. Like I remember one day I was going through Dallas area and there was like a ton of people on the side of the road, like it was some kind of weird cataclysmic event. People in their Sunday's best taking pictures around these flowers with trucks screaming at them 60 miles an hour by them. So I imagine it's going to be a lot like that. Randy says, let it loose. We love Angry Snorelord. Angry Snorelord would probably get me up to 5,000 subscribers. Probably. How great point and clicks are like Uber Freight, JB Hunt, 360, etc. Meanwhile, they're getting taken advantage of and literally undermining the market, at least in my opinion. Everything serves a purpose. Everything has its advantages and disadvantages. If I'm looking at Uber Freight and it's a customer I know, like I used to do these Lima to Fulton loads all the time, Lima, Ohio to Fulton, Missouri. It was on Uber. It could be 2 a.m, click on it. It's got all the information. It's even got the pickup numbers I need. It's got everything I need right there. Didn't have to talk to anybody, and it was a good rate. But then one day Uber figured out, hey, if we put a bid option on there, then these drivers will be their own worst enemy. And they find they could drive the rate down without even having to talk to them. Because if they just post a low rate, nobody takes it, they have to increase it. But if they put a bid on it, then they let the drivers price it, and they save their money that way. So there's a purpose to Uber Freight. I knew that if I can just get a near Lima, I would grab one of those loads. I could look ahead. I didn't have to talk. I didn't have to coordinate like 3 loads with 3 different brokers. And that's just how it is. So I enjoy it. I enjoy the hunt, but also there are times when I really don't feel like talking to anybody. And guess what? Being on the broker side, there's a lot of carriers that I had trouble talking to. Like they couldn't communicate. They would literally email me, what rate? What rate for what? You know, it's like put 2 brain cells together and please give me a full sentence. So I can understand why brokers don't want to talk to drivers either. But at the same time, here's the bottom line. You want to talk to brokers like CDN that has their details down, that actually care about the freight that they're doing. You don't get that from the click and go apps. There are times when the click and go apps have called me and say, hey, we noticed that, you used to do these a lot and you do a good job. Would you want to do this again? So they're paying attention, but at that point, you're all just ones and zeros. Your trucks right now are ones and zeros to most freight companies. Your ones and zeros to Sonar. Your ones and zeros to DAT. Your ones and zeros to freight waves. And the company that has all the information is going to utilize it to their advantage. Not yours, but to theirs. And you being the driver, you're the lowest on the totem pole in this decision of logistics. And you want to work with the brokers that value your relationship. They value that your truck has. They value that your struggle. They value that you're taking care of their freight despite all the rough edges that you're having to go around. TC Box says, I despise having to negotiate every load like I'm at a Persian bazaar. There are aspects of trucking where you don't have to deal with brokers. It's very peaceful. What I tended to do was I worked with the same 4 or 5 brokers because I tended to do a lot of the same loads. And like I said, I was doing 2 weeks of the short haul stuff with one broker, doing 2 loads a day, making about $1,000 a day. The hardest part was coordinating all the apps because I had to have a regular tracking app. I had to have our TMS system that I had to put in the information in, and then I had the broker's app, and then I still had to call them. So there was a lot of that going on. But beyond that, it was fairly. I could sleep at either shipper or receiver. No way stations, easy drive, construction Bella Vista, which is now over with, and that was it. And then for a while, I was doing Rogers to Sedalia for about $1,300, and then I was doing Kansas City to Springfield for about anywhere between $750 and $900. That drive from Rogers to Sedalia is awesome. I loved it. That's peaceful, and eventually all good things come to an end, and short, fuel went up and short game went away. Wimpy says, hopefully all the immigrants miss the sign. Don't look directly at the sun. CB, I would say non-transfer partial freight quoted at partial rate hazmat, high value, heated freight in winter, not scientific, my observation. You guys seen those Sherwin-Williams trucks? They got heaters in them. That's pretty cool. Trucking is finished. All these immigrants running for $400 a week. All the new guys speak Swahili. Eddie, what's up, man? You saying you can afford Snorelord reminds me of a comment I get calling me out that I didn't reinstate my authority, then calling me out saying if I have savings and I'm making money, why not just get your authority? And I simply say because there's other costs that you have to take into account. I like having a safety net, and if I went out and got my authority right now, I would not have that safety net. So let me ask you a question. Quick hit, what's up? Let me ask you a question, Jackknife. So, do you feel like things are way different versus having your authority 5 years ago? In other words, if I had decided to get my authority, which, I almost did about 6 years ago, versus getting my authority now, I definitely would not do it now. Now, if that makes me weak, if that makes me lame, then so be it. 6 years ago would have been perfect because I could have built something from that. Now, here's another oddball thing that most of you probably don't know that I've learned by talking to drivers. There are people that get their authority to not do brokered freight. They get their authority because their buddy owns a company that wants them to haul their product. There's been several drivers that have called me wanting dispatch service because they had their authority. They have their authority. They've been around for 2, 3. One guy was like 4 years. And all of a sudden, a big carrier came in and undercut him on the loads that he was doing. He had no idea how to do brokered freight, even though his authority was 4 years old. That actually happens. Brokered freight is just a small percentage of calling, the act of calling brokers. It's just a tiny, tiny percentage of how freight is moved in this country. And if you ask a majority of the people that have their own authority, they'll tell you to not do it unless you're wanting to build. See, I didn't want to have contractors. I didn't want to add trucks. So I was told not to do it. Now, the rough math back then would have put X amount more dollars in my pocket if I had my own authority, but there would have been a lot more struggles, a lot more regulations to keep track of. This day and age, with the high cost of insurance, that makes it a lot more difficult financially. The insurance companies rule this industry, or at least are one of the big players that create the conditions. So when people call me and say, hey, Steve, I'm thinking about getting my authority, I said, well, from what angle? Is it because you want to build? Is it because you have an opportunity? Or is it because you're just wanting to get that extra percentage that you're thinking you're missing out by being signed on with somebody? And with all the brokers and their requirements, they're making it very hard for a guy to get their own authority right now and be successful with it. if you're going through brokered freight. Now, let's say McCormick calls me and says, hey, Steve, I like you, man. You're a good dude. And then I would go, I got you fooled. Ha, ha, ha. But then we'd have a laugh. And then over dinner, they would say, hey, if you get a truck with your own authority, why don't you run some loads for me? We'll keep you busy. Here's the rate I can give you. So I would do a cost analysis, come up with a business plan. Hey, that sounds like a good idea. And if I had enough loads, they might go, hey, if you can get a second truck and just run our freight, dude, we'll keep you busy. That's how these deals are done. That's how it's done. There's a lot of local companies here in Springfield that have fed Prime, that have fed RBX, that have fed Transland, that have fed IWX. We've all of us drivers that live here, we all got stories of going in and out of the caves, going in and out of Bass Pro, going in and out of SRT. There's a battery place up here. Because why? Because they didn't want to deal with brokers. And you know what Bass Pro did? Here's the thing. I used to run a lot of Bass Pro shop freight. And you know what they did? They called out and said, hey, we want somebody to just take over our logistics completely. And the company I was with, they put in their bid, but Werner came in and they handle all of it. I don't know if that's still the case or not, but Werner came in. They actually are the people paying the people in the shipping and receiving office. They're the ones that, if Werner trucks aren't covering it, they're the ones brokering it. It's kind of like how Dollar General uses Capstone for all their, inbound and needs, right? It's just easier to hire a company to outsource it. Outsourcing is popular right now. That's why brokerages are laying off, because they can outsource the 24-hour lines. They can outsource the people that create the lumper checks. They can outsource the people that are doing the tech. It's outsourcing, right? So Capstone is outsourced by Dollar General to handle all their incoming freight and handle the logistics of it. Just like Bass Pro used Werner to do the same thing. And so the 1-2 truck operations that were in good with Bass Pro, suddenly, boom, they're gone. Now what do? Well, hopefully they can use the same skill sets to get other customers, but what do you do in the meantime? Well, you go to brokered freight for a minute. And now the brokers want inspections. Now they want you to have so many months of business. Now they want you have your truckingcompany.com address. They want to see history. If you come in with no history, with no information, with no analytics for them to analyze, they don't want you. They'll turn down companies that have been around for 5 years that don't have any inspections. But they'll take that new guy that just had inspection last week or last year. CDN Freight Broker. Many carriers, companies, and many industries are very hard on drivers or employees the first 3 months to test you to set a standard. If you're a pushover company, staff will take advantage of company. Mike's trucking with Big Daddy. A new truck doesn't mean less problems. Look at Jackknife Story. I've been following him since he's had the international. His story is like a horror story. That is true, Mike. A new truck is not a guarantee that you're going to be problem free. I guarantee. I understand that, and that's one of the things that also made me not want to get a new truck, because I know it wasn't a cure-all. Because I'm sitting there in the, I remember there was one day I was sitting at the Petro there in Kingdom City. And I was looking at trucks, I was looking at, I think I had MHC open, I had Pedigree open, and I look across the parking lot and there's a brand new Freightliner getting put on a hook. And, going down the interstate, you see these new trucks on the side of the road. Everybody puts this stereotype in their mind that the truck sitting on the shoulder of the highway is some like beat up 1997 Kenworth T600. But the reality is, it's a truck that just derated because the sensor said it wasn't good enough. And so if I had a brand new truck today, number one, I would want to make the payments around very reasonable, and which is hard to do. And also, you're going to want an allowance for towing, and you're going to want an allowance for hotel and or rental car, and the ability to not have the truck for a month. And then it could be things out of your control. Like you can I'm going to take this truck in for an oil change at the TA. And then they run the truck with no oil for a minute. Next thing you know, we had that happen to one of our drivers. Sitting there in the break room looking for a load, he's getting oil change done. And, sir, we have a problem. What's that? Well, we got to tow your truck over to Freightliner. We ran it without oil for a couple of minutes. Oh. It took 3 to 4 months of litigation for them to buy him a new engine. And then the time it took to get that installed. So, I mean, you got to be prepared for the worst. And as the truck owner, you got to deal with all of that. It's if you're doing a lease operation like one of these big carriers, they can put you in loaner trucks. Swift's got a really good loaner truck operation going on. I've talked to a couple of people that did that. Now, the other things they told me about wasn't great, but at least they're in a loaner truck and they didn't have to pay for it. But yeah, a new truck doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to have any problems. Trust me, I see all the check engine codes that come across our board every day. And it's new and old trucks that are doing it. So you missed it. Fuel went up last night, 5 cents a gallon. TC says, nothing wrong with referral bonuses. Just be that company longer than finishing up orientation and learning your terminal manager's name. I agree with you, TC. There was a time where I didn't trust Jeffrey Like when I first learned about him because I thought he was just a recruiter. Because I didn't trust recruiters. But then when I saw that he was driving and I actually got to talk to him, I realized that he could back up his game. And so, I went to Schneider. And then I got it. Schneider had a great, here's the thing with Schneider. It was like $3,000. $1,500 when the person went to orientation and $1,500 if they made it 6 months. And there was a few that I tried to like, hey, if you're at the OC with me, I'll pay for dinner, because I was very grateful for the people that use my driver number for a referral bonus. So, and it was a good way to make extra cash. But I would not trust and will not trust a recruiter that's been in a company for 3 months and says, hey, this is the greatest company ever. No. 3 months is not enough time to judge a company. I don't care who you are and what company it is. A recruiter's job is to tell you, this is what this program does, and have full knowledge of what that is. That's a recruiter's job. And they're better convincing if they have experience. Like if I go recruit for Transland, I have experience of 6 years with them. And so I can, but would my words be validated? I haven't worked for them for 8 years. So I'd be kind of full of it if I did that. Besides, nobody listens to a guy with a beard. Just right in the Ozarks. What? No remote from West Plains or Poplar Bluff? Me either, LOL. Yeah, no, I think 97% is good enough, just right. So Pale Rider TV, Texas Blue Bonnets. Oh, yeah. Okay, talk about the flowers. I'm way behind on the comments. Holy crap. I'm 20 minutes behind. I apologize. Morning, sir. After I get this truck deal worked out, I will give you a call for some dispatching. Excellent, STTN. We will help you out. Agree or disagree, our two greatest threats this generation. Number one, we now live in a subscription-based society equals depleted generational wealth being passed on. It means more start life broke, stay broke. That's number two, water shortage. Sorry, ST. What'd you do? Accidentally delete his video or his thing? Good morning, everybody. Hope you all are great. Travel safe. Virgo life. My bad for being off subject. It's amazing how you look. I remember when you were a bigger person. How do you feel when you see your old self? I can't watch my old videos, Virgo life. Thank you for changing the subject. I cannot watch my old videos. Someone was asking me about the Missouri IRP. So I went back to the video that I did about it. I can't watch it. I literally can't watch this. And here, watch this. This might have something. And then I usually get the call, dude, whoa. CDN, one thing completely lost is the award companies rewarded employees after 5, 10, 25 years. The pride employees had at being at the company for many years. Oh, and the pride that companies had, people had the company for many years. Buck Brown says, morning. Jack Knight, $5. Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself. Can't have dedicated freight everywhere. Eddie says, been there, done that. You need to have a minimum of $50K for a new engine, right? It's not mechanical failures or really engine issues that are putting trucks on the side of the road. It's the EPA requirements. I agree with that. Look, here's the deal, and I'll stand by this. Take out the EPA regs, I'll buy a truck tomorrow. Flat out. I will buy a truck tomorrow, and I will run it. Still doing dispatch and still doing safety. I would run it. Man, went the extra today to communicate with shipper to get loaded 6 hours early. Kindness and smiles paves the way. Yes, it does. Jackknife says, although I will say these new trucks are not built for quality, they're built for cost-cutting savings in the last just maybe 4 or 5 years from the mega carriers. They're also, southbound, good morning. Haven't seen you in a minute. They're also more comfortable. Trust me. I've gone across country several times in an old school cab over. Fun, but I imagine I'd probably hate it now. So it's been such a cush thing, right? So I think we're caught up. Are we caught up on comments? We are. All right. So let's go over some low board stuff, shall we? Let's see what rates are doing today. Better not forget to put this on the screen so I don't look more idiotic than I do. We got 70 people in here. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. 48065 if you wish to try out the 123 low board for yourself. Don't take my word for it. If you hate it, then at least you tried it. If you love it, then you're welcome. I find that it's a useful tool that I use every single day. Especially for some of the features like the market rate check and all that stuff. So let's take a look at Van. Let's see what's going on around the country in Van. So California's got pretty decent amount of loads. Literally the same amount. Inbound 433, outbound 433, intrastate 257. Texas is 795 coming out, 469 intrastate. Let's take a look at Arkansas. It's green. Let's sort this by highest rate. Let's see where all the long haul stuff's going. $2.12 a mile to go to Mass from Stuttgart. That's going to be Rice. Look at the difference. You can go 1,300 miles to Massachusetts for $29.60, or for $2,900, you can go way further to California. They are paying a little bit better to go in California, though. I've noticed that. So it's starting to have effect that no one wants to go out there. So $2 a mile to go. So basically a $2 market to go to Massachusetts, Utah. So this is promising. $2 to go to Tolleson, Arizona, $2.12 a mile, $2,600 from Hope, which is, I believe, where the Clintons came from, I think. Arkansas, is that or Benton? I can't remember. $2.16 a mile, New Jersey, of course. $2.53 to go to Denver. So starting to see an uptick in these long haul rates. That's good. Now, of course, they're going to crappy areas. So let's see what the highest rate per mile is. See where all the short haul stuff is. Short haul to me is a good $800, $900 day. These $400 and $500 loads per day, that's going to put you out of business. Like, here we go. $300 go from Marked Tree, Arkansas to, I think that's what that's called, to Olive Branch, Mississippi. Well, granted, it's only 58 miles, but now if you get 2 or 3 of these a day, then yeah, you're good to go. But so here's what you do: you call this broker and say, "Hey, what's going on with these loads, and can we deliver multiple times a day?" And obviously, this one says picks up at 11 a.m. on April 30th and delivers the next day. 7:30 for $300. No. Let's see. A lot of 450, 600. So a lot of loads going to Tennessee. Here we go. Highest 253 mile going to Denver. 249 to go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. You got 1,100 to go to Marietta, Oklahoma out of Marked Tree. So obviously there's a shipper that Amex is connected with out of Marked Tree. You can recognize that. That's one of the things about, because a lot of the filler stuff that's on the DAT board, it's a little bit easier to spot this kind of stuff, especially when you're using this tool. Obviously, Amex has a deal with Marked Tree, Arkansas, whatever shipper's there, and they've got several of these loads for the next few weeks. So you can call them up and say, "Hey, what's the story with these loads? How can I be of service to you?" Because $244 to go to Marietta, Oklahoma is not bad at all. That's going to be Dollar Tree or DOT or Dot Foods, not DOT, Dot Foods. Or Goodyear. It doesn't have any product or anything, does it? Let's look here. Okay. Picks up at 11. Delivers next day at 8 a.m. How many miles is that? 450. So easy run. There's a truck stop literally almost across the street from the Dollar Tree that's always got parking. Big place. 39,000 pounds, so it's not too heavy. Heavy enough to keep it grounded if it gets windy. I like this loaded a lot. $1,275. They're at $1,100. $1,275 is cargo chief. And then if you can grab some out of Oklahoma going right back to Arkansas, which is fairly easy. You can usually find Oklahoma City to Clarksville. Now, is that round trip money? Probably not. But talk to AMX. Call them up and say, "Hey, you seem to have a lot of these. What's the story with these?" Now, so let's say this is Dollar Tree, right? This is how you recognize these things. So if this is Dollar Tree, what is it? What's the product? Because here's the thing. What's going to happen is they're going to have like I see the charcoal places in Missouri do it all the time. You got charcoal that comes out of West Plains, Branson, and Rolla, and then Boss, Missouri. Those 4 places. And what they will do is Dollar General, one broker will pick up all the Dollar General. So it's going to go to Ardmore. It's going to go to Fulton. It's going to go to Indianola. You know, and then all of a sudden another broker will have all the charcoal that goes to all these different Walmarts. It'll go to Clarksville. It'll go to St. James. It'll go to Harrisonville. It'll go to, you know, wherever, right? That we're all at, you know, Tyler, Texas. Not Tyler, Sanger. Sorry, Sanger. Tyler's Target. And so, yeah, it's gonna be gonna be a short period of time. Like charcoal will be a short period of time. It will be hot and heavy between March to about August, September. Well, yeah, Labor Day, and then it kind of tapers off after that. But you know, Walmart will do a big PO purchase order. And if you can find the broker that's got all the Walmart, then you just go back and forth. Well, I'll do the Sanger, Texas ones. I'll do the Harrisonville, Missouri ones. I'll do the Clarksville, Arkansas ones. And then I just can maneuver through the short haul on getting back to doing those loads. And you find the one broker that's got that. Now, if it's coming off a 3PL, it's harder to pinpoint which broker's got that. But that's a process that I do. And that's something I had to discover slowly from behind the steering wheel. But I noticed the pattern. It's easy to see when you use tools like this. And they're at a fairly reasonable rate. So it'd be nothing to get them up to 1,200, and then boom. You're going to Arkansas and Oklahoma and back for a minute. For as long as they need whatever comes out of Mark Tree, Arkansas. Amex also seems to have a lot coming out of Stuttgart, which is going to be probably Riceland. You know, that's the other thing. Rice comes out of Arkansas. The rice fields out there, Arkansas and Louisiana. So there's going to be a time of the year where a lot of freight will be coming out of there. Gary Cook, good morning. Jackknife says they were really comfy Snorelord, a lot of amenities, a lot more room, but man, sound of a 2-stroke diesel, yeah. I remember the smell of old diesel. That was this new biodiesel doesn't smell the same. So this is how, of course, we're all over the place now. You got Sheer Trans going to Jersey, Agricultural Logistics going to Jersey. And then when you see like 4 or 5 brokers have the same load, that's probably either a co-brokering agreement or it's a 3PL that they're grabbing that from. You see that a lot in flatbed. Let's take a look at Ohio. See what the highest paying stuff is out of Ohio. So let's go with the rate. The highest rate tends to give you the long haul stuff because it's going by the overall number. Like $4,000 go to Portland. This is not a profitable load, and I'll tell you why. For most. For some of you, it might be. Let's take a look at this here. If it will load. All right. Picks up today at 12 p.m. Going to Portland for the 12th, which is Friday. So you're going to land in Portland on Friday. Now they're at $1.67 a mile. It is 9% below my cost per day, which I put my cost at $3.50. 358. And those numbers were based off of, I can't even remember what those numbers were based off of. They were based off of my truck. But then I added a few things because I know that my costs were not as realistic as some of the others. Because I had set things up pretty decent. Cargo Chiefs got this at 44, so they're a little bit low. And here's why you need to negotiate a little bit better on this one. Because when you look at the freight coming out of Portland, we click on that number there, and we sort this by highest rate. You're looking at, like, here's the load, 44,000 pounds, 89 cents a mile. You're looking at $1.56, 89 cents. Here's $2.95 to go to Idaho. But that's only, it's not even $1,000 for the day. And it's 45,000 pounds, so you're going to be spending way a bunch of money on fuel in those mountains there. And it's all keeping you up in Oregon. Well, let's say I have Oregon Interstate. And guys, it costs money to travel within Oregon. But look at this market. It's horrible. And if you want, let's say, I can get this Washington to Kentucky. So we look at the details on this load. Cargo Chiefs got this at $38.86, $1.67 a mile. Now, if your costs are $2 a mile, guess what? Doing these two loads back to back is gonna put you in the hole. This is 41% below my cost per day. So landing in Oregon on a Friday is probably not a great idea. Right, Randy? I got to give him hell. So, yeah. So look at the backhaul features. Right? You go to Alberta, $2.03 a mile. Go visit the Canadians there. $1.57 to go to California. Now, if I was in Oregon, I would head to either Utah or Colorado. And here's Trinidad, Colorado, $2.38 a mile, $3,400. That'd be a good weekend run. This picks up tomorrow. When's it deliver? But then you're landing in Colorado on a Friday. May not be the best idea. Let's see when this delivers. If this delivers Thursday, see, this is 62% above my cost per day. But if you look at, and they're above the Cargo Chiefs. So construction equipment. So it's a specialized thing. So that's probably why there's some money on it. Now, if this delivers Friday, then you're landing in Colorado on a Friday. Now, if this delivered Thursday, which I doubt because it's picking up Tuesday, if this picked up today and delivered Wednesday or Thursday, then you can do your deadhead on Thursday and then land somewhere good on Friday for your weekend load. That's how that goes. So where you land on Friday, and you have to be thinking about where you're going to land on Friday, today and tomorrow. You got to know that. Old School Trucking says 89 cents per mile for 44,000 pound load in the mountains. Yeah, that won't even cover fuel. You are correct. They never should have had all those COVID exemptions. Yeah, people abuse the people that were able to use that quite a bit. Let's see. Here we go. Here's another one. Sydney, Ohio to Salt Lake City, Utah. Epps Logistics. $2.07 a mile. Then you got to look at the freight rates coming out of Salt Lake. So let's take a look at the Salt Lake market. Now, this doesn't pick up till the 16th, delivers the 19th, 2 days later. How many or no, 6. Oh, that's 4 days later. The math is hard. 45% above cost per day. That's 15, almost 1,600 miles, 41,000 pounds. So your fuel's going to be high. You're going to be at 520 a day. So can some of you survive off of 520 a day? Now, let's say you get to Salt Lake because that's one of the better paying loads, right? So let's take a look at the backhauls or there's 4 loads. I don't even have to click on this. 4 loads from Salt Lake to anywhere. When you see that low number, that means your negotiation leverage is 0. Let's click on that 4 just for poops and giggles. 3 loads probably posted going to Texas. It's probably 1 load. So is this a good market to land on a Friday? No. Unless you're trying to get to Irving, Texas. And it's not even coming out of Salt Lake. It's coming out of Wyoming. 136 miles away. So is that a good load? No. Unless you got some special circumstance that works for you. If you're trying to get, let's say I live in Dallas, then yeah, we're gonna take a look at that. Marty asks, is the post office closed today? Just wondering because of the eclipse. Well, it's not a federal holiday, so I think you're fine. If you need to mail something or cash a check, you can probably still do that. But as you can see, the best paying loads. Oh, here we go. Sydney, Ohio to Fort Myers, Florida. This is out of Ohio. I forgot. 250 mile. That's pretty standard. 26,000 pounds. Columbus to Denver, 203 a mile. That's a little low for that. Now, let's say that this is your choice of loads. You can pick. Oh, let me take a look. Why is this so low? $1.49 a mile to go from New Vienna, Ohio to St. George, Utah. Why is that only $1.49 a mile? That's completely. Let's take a look at what Cargo Chief's got this at. If it will load, there we go. Yeah, Cargo Chief's got this at $38.99. They are literally $1,000 lower than it really where it needs to be. Like it's showing me 24% below my cost per day. And it's at $1.49 a mile. Most trucks are not operating off $1.49 a mile. If they are, then good on you. Right? So, and then you're going to a bad market on top of that. So you want to ask yourself, why are they so low? Because this is way below even the lowest market rate green screens, which is AI, $32.75. They've at least got it at $1.75, but even then, it's not like Salt Lake's a hotbed of freight. So is this a good load? No, it's not. Unless you live in Utah. Then you're going to go home with it, right? But still, I would want more than $1.38 a mile to get home. So, $1 a mile to go from Columbus, Ohio to Montclair, California. So, if you're trying to stay above $2 a mile on longer miles, you're going to go to a bad area. You're going to go to Florida. You're going to go to Colorado. You're going to wind up in Maine, right? Or the Northeast. So you have to know your cost because you're going to have to minimize the amount of damage that you do coming out. Like, for example, here's Fremont, Ohio to Jacksonville, Florida, $2.12 a mile. Picks up Friday, probably delivers Monday. Let this load here. See, picks up at 10:30, delivers the next day. How many miles is that? 921 miles. Delivers at 9 p.m. the next day. So a little bit of that's a little tight, right? It's a little tight. 16,000 pounds. Picks up Saturday, delivers Sunday. I'd be leery of this one. But you're gonna get a better rate out of Jacksonville than, say, deeper into Florida. But you're probably not going to get loaded till Monday. Let's see what Georgia's doing. Georgia's got a lot of volume right now. Tom is here, or I can start now. Man, I've been on this. This is going to be a 2-hour live feed, man. I apologize, everybody. This is going to be dumb. 2-hour live feeds are dumb. Have you ever played, Steve, an aluminum 5th plate, just the top plate? They're like 5K installed. No, I've never used one of those. $1.28 to go to California. Screw that. North, you can go to Las Vegas for $1.46. They're not paying to go out west. Don't go out west. $1.52 to go to Arizona. You'd be better off with this Marietta, Georgia to Odessa, Texas for $2,500. Is Odessa a great area? No. Oh, it's hazmat. So of course they got the money on that. So that's out. Unless you got hazmat authority, then cool. New Hampshire, 204 mile. That's the trick out of Georgia. If you're going to go to a better area or a good area like Wisconsin, they're not paying you hardly to get up there. But if you want to go to New York or Massachusetts or Jersey, that's where the money is. And they're paying good money to go into Oklahoma. Why? Because it's red. It's red, so it's like not a whole lot of freight coming out of there. St. Louis, Augusta, the Wyandotte, Oklahoma. Now, Wyandotte actually puts you in the Joplin market. So this I would pick this load. And here's how I would approach it. It picks up tomorrow, 7 a.m. Delivers the 11th, which is Thursday. Okay, ready for this? So cost per day is good, or rate per day is good, 16% above cost. Cargo Chiefs got this at 1701. They're at 1775, so they're probably not going to go much higher. It's paper, so it's 38,000 pounds. Now, this puts you in the Joplin market. Out of Joplin, Missouri, you can get quite a bit. But what you do is tell the broker, oh, man, it's Oklahoma, man. It's struggle to get out of there. They don't need to know that it's like 50 miles from the Joplin market. Maybe they already know that. Maybe they know you're full of it, right? So, but you can at least say, look, dude, it's Oklahoma, man. You got some mountains to drive through. That stretch of 49 here is it's going to make your truck work a little bit, but that's what they're meant to do. No, this is some great stuff, Snorelord. You got out some things that need to be said, and you're educating. I don't know if I'm educating or not. Jack Knight says I find it entertaining. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to entertain. I couldn't agree more. Jack Knife says old school. Thank you. Sterling, good morning from home. All is well. Everyone else better be well too, or I'm going back to bed. I haven't talked to you in a minute, Sterling. You should call me sometime. All right, let's go with the highest rate. Let's see what the highest paying rate per mile out of Georgia is right now. I guarantee you that most of it's going to Florida. $300, $400 to go to Alabama, South Carolina. See, here we go. $422 a mile, $700 go to Daytona Beach. I'm not seeing it. Oh, here we go. Atlanta to Plant City, $333 a mile, $1,500. Let's take a look at this one. Picks up today. Multiple stops. There you go. Jacksonville, Florida, Daytona Beach, Florida, Plant City, Florida. Let's see, $1,435. They're at $1,500, so $333 a mile. Then I would do the real mileage between these two, but looks like it's all on the. These two are kind of out of the way, so the mileage is going to be off. Depends on how many days it takes to do this. If you can do that in 1 or 2 days, that's a good load. But then you're going to come out of Plant City, which isn't too bad. Tampa's not too bad. You can take your hit up to southern Georgia and then go from there. Air conditioning products. So. So yeah, here we go. 1,700. Hamilton, Georgia, to Boynton Beach, Florida. Is that right? Boynton Beach, Florida? Yep. Picks up on the 11th, delivers next day. Now, this is a bit of a challenge because it picks up at 1, then delivers at 7 a.m. the next day. And it's 567 miles. That's a bit that might be a bit of a challenge, which is why they probably got a little bit of money on this. 42,000 pounds, maximum temperature 999. Pretty much straight, but you're going deep into Florida, so. But if you can actually accomplish this, and like let's say you can sleep at the receiver, then you can get that done, or you can go into shipper early and get loaded early. Parking's a bit of a challenge once you get south of the middle of Florida there. But if you know what you're doing, if you can get in there, this is a good load. And then you're going to take your hit coming out. But then that's a good enough rate that you can make something with that. $42 in tolls. And you're looking at about $373 in fuel. So there you go. So as I suspected, here we go. Here's one, $450 to go to Knoxville. I don't know about that. Depends on the Knoxville market. Let's click on that one. Picks up today. I'm assuming delivers tomorrow. We'll let it load here. While it's loading, I'll read Sterling's comment. I'll be returning calls today. Speak to my secretary for a time allotment. Picks up at Cartersville tonight and delivers at 4 a.m. the next morning. So this is the third shift operation here. And they're at 450. Cargo Chiefs got this at 759. So they are way low. That's a lot of loss for an overnight kind of deal. And it's beer at that, too. It's going to be heavy. This is below my cost per day. This is a stinker. But let's look at the Knoxville market. Let's see what that looks like. 479 loads coming out of Knoxville. So this could be your short jaunt out of Georgia if you got a good rate going in there to get to Knoxville and grab some market rates out of there. So that's how you would look at that. So there are times when to do the deadhead. There are times when you take the hit, right? Heavy beer load, $450, 153 miles. You might deadhead. You might just say, you know what, I'm not working early shift like that. I'll just deadhead to Knoxville. That is an option. Is it worth the $450 to do that if you can't negotiate that up? I would say you could probably get this for about $600. Because the Georgia market volumes are up. So that means they're having a little bit harder time to find a truck for that load. But they're not going to be ridiculous with it either. So, Nathaniel, good morning, brother. I am late. Sorry I'm late. No apologies necessary. I'm getting ready to get off here. So, but anyways, we'll flash to reefer and van and flatbed on this market map real quick. Here's flatbed and step deck. This is redundant. Oregon, California, or the whole southeast of the country with a little bit of PA, Ohio, and Illinois. If we look at PA, what's the highest paying thing coming out of there? $12.50 mile to go from PA to New Jersey, $300. If we do the highest rate, what's the highest paying thing coming out of this Pennsylvania? Nevada, $235 a mile, $6,000. $222 to go to Phoenix. Texas, Florida. There you go. And let's switch this to reefer. All over the place. It's like a checkerboard. New Mexico, of course, has had decent volumes coming out. More than normal. Not decent, I guess. In returns of Georgia or Ohio. Let's take a look at Wisconsin. Let's see what's coming out of here. Highest rate is $3,000. Or 3,800 to go from Medford to Massachusetts to Maine. So again, and they're at 38. Carly's got it at 42. So there's probably room to get up there a little bit. 62% above my costs. Now that's a little deceiving though, because my cost per day would be increased if I had a reefer trailer. So there's that. That's something you have to take into account. You have to do the gross costs. You know, like let's say you're a van and you want to get a reefer trailer, you would want to, okay, the trailer is going to cost X. The fuel is going to cost X. Maintenance is going to cost X. And then what's your projected net? You know, so like I did that math with the driver. His cost went up by $30,000 a year, but his net went up by 15. So it was a good investment. So, you know, it made him more money. Now, if you make that kind of, let's say the reefer trailer is costing you $30,000 more, but then you're not making any more money on the net side, then what was the point? Nothing. Jackknife, depending on how long it takes to get loaded, whether or not your hours are good, and you can take a split. That's not a bad load. I'm sure you can maybe move it up a little bit. Yep. So, all right, guys, that's it. We're done. I've been on here too long. Like I said, I should have a members-only video fairly soon. And I appreciate the members, and I appreciate the super chats, and I appreciate the comments, the positive comments, and even the negative comments, because that tells me that out of the 7 billion people in the earth, you're watching me. Out of the gazillion YouTube channels, I'm the star of the show, which is just right, just fine. So, with that being said, Flatbed Trucker sneaking in here at the last minute. Good morning. All right. With that being said, strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Don't look directly at the sun and don't drive with your Eclipse glasses on. So don't be dumb. Peace.